Hello and welcome back to 1992. It's time for another Premier League preview show with myself, Dan Bardell, and Jonathan Wilson. And today our main games are going to be Liverpool against Everton, Manchester United against Chelsea, and Arsenal v City. And of course, we'll go through and predict all the other Premier League games as well and talk about some of the hot topics that have happened in the world of the Premier League and football this week. We'll start with some pleasantries. Jonathan, how are you?
So. How are you?
So I'm very, very well, thank you. Very well. Looking forward to doing this with you as always today.
It's been a big week for you, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, bigger than I'd like. But as I said, both in our 40s now. I don't know if I've got a bit more gravitas doing it with you in my 40s. I don't know. You can probably tell me, but
I'll do the gravitas. You do the kids.
yeah, that's fine. I don't feel like I can do that now in my 40s. I'm not sure. I've had a few people tell me I don't look 40, but I don't know whether they mean you look 50, mate, or
You don't act 40. I'll put it that way.
Definitely don't act 40. I've not got any better at predictions as well. Actually, I haven't done any. I have just done my predictions in my 40s, but my last predictions of 39, I'm still behind you because you got.
No, but you had a good week.
Points.
You got 10, right? I mean, 10's a good week.
Yeah, but you got 11.
Well, I had a very good week.
Yeah, but when you're behind, I've got to get more than you. There's no good getting 10.
If you get 10 points a week from now at the end of the season, you will win.
But if you get 11 every week, I won't catch you.
But it's like, if I get 11 from now till the end of the season, that's like, I don't know, that's like you're Phil Mickelson and I'm Tiger Woods. And it's just
True.
like, you guys go say, look, I'm against one of the greatest predictors of all time. I won't get 11 every week. I'm not Tiger Woods.
You could have gone with a football analogy there, but you went with the golf, which took me by surprise. But I did know what you were talking about, which was good.
So basically, you just got to hope that kind of I get caught having a tawdry affair with a cocktail waitress and my life falls apart, with narcotics and car crashes, and then I get a knee injury and I can't predict anymore to the same level I once did.
Oh, fingers crossed. That stuff happens. Then, John. I think we got the same scores right as well because we did have a few similarities last week, didn't we? So I think we got the same ones bang on from memory. So Jonathan is now on 31 points. I'm on 26. Let's start the show by talking about the Champions League last night and the night before, and obviously there's some to come tonight as well. How does Jonathan Wilson choose which game to watch when there's multiple games on?
So I thought today I'd write my Substack on Chelsea. So I'll watch Bayern Chelsea.
Okay.
So I had that on the TV, but I had Liverpool Atletico on the iPad.
Oh no, I can't do that.
Can you not?
And I hate it. I just can't. Two at the same time to me is an absolute nightmare. I'd rather just fully focus on one. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was writing like live and I couldn't go back and check stuff, then I wouldn't do that. But
yeah,
because that Liverpool Atletico game was so immediately. I mean, basically getting the Discovery app to work.
Oh,
I missed the first 2 goals because that is not a user-friendly app. It's kind of a disgrace that. Why would they spend so much money on the Champions League coverage and make it so hard to watch?
I don't know. That's another reason to just watch one. I can't do it.
And then the night before, I watched Spurs v Villarreal.
Okay.
Partly because I want to see how Thomas Frank did in the Champions League, and partly because I'm going to Spurs' game against Borussia Glimt, and I thought I probably should see how they'd done in their previous Champions League game before I go to that. So I sort of slightly regretted not watching the Juve Dortmund game.
Yeah, what a game.
But you can't watch everything.
No. Any takeaways from the games last night?
I was really disappointed in Chelsea.
Poor word. I obviously watched Liverpool, so I don't know how the game was.
I mean, it was self-inflicted to an extent. And the defensive errors, to an extent, you sort of think, well, when they get players back, you've got a lot of defensive injuries.
Mm.
If they can cut out the individual errors, that will sort itself out. But I mean, Sanchez had a good night. He made 2 or 3 really good saves. So it was 3-1. You're going on 6 or 7-1. I mean, just looked incredibly short of creativity. Everything is about Cole Palmer, and that's been an ongoing problem for them. That if Cole Palmer's not playing well, they don't look like they're ever going to hurt teams. And I don't think Bayern are a particularly good side defensively. I don't think Bayern are a potential winner of this tournament, unless, I mean, I say that, obviously, I say that, obviously, PSG started the group stage pretty badly last season, but I think Bayern need a significant defensive upgrade if they are going to really challenge for it. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but none of the 4 semi-finalists from last season won their first away game.
I didn't notice that. No, that's a good
So,
stat.
Chelsea losing their first away game, I wouldn't panic because the precedent is there to go on and win the thing. But they looked simultaneously open and blunt. And then I thought Maresca's, we're really inexperienced. Well, whose fault's that? You're the club who keeps signing teenagers and then just flogging them on. And also, you've got this big sort of gleaming yellow circle on your chest, which says you're the club world champions. Well, if that tournament meant anything, you're experienced enough. Or maybe it didn't mean anything, which I think is also possible. But you can't have both. You can't say this is a meaningful trophy and we're massively inexperienced.
No, strange. I actually looked at their bench last night, Chelsea, and thought, is there I know the defensive players missing, but it didn't feel like a load of game changers on the bench. They obviously picked a team against Brentford as well, where they did have game changers on the bench because they rested people, but that came at the expense of obviously the result. Suddenly looked quite a strange mishmash of a squad, I thought, when I looked at it last night. They're still your Premier League favourites?
I still think that block in midfield is really strong.
Yep, same.
If they get Lavia back, especially, but even if Reece James stays in midfield, if you have James or Lavia plus Caicedo plus Enzo Fernandez, that's a really good three. And I think that can cover up deficiencies elsewhere. But I think they really are short of guile going forward. It's all about Palmer. And I don't think it matters if Palmer is there and playing well. That if you have a centre forward who scores goals, whether that's a Delap who's going to win the ball in the air, whether that's a João Pedro who's a bit more varied in his approach, that plus the guile of Palmer, plus a more direct runner in the manner of Pedro Neto, that's fine. Or Gittins if you want him, he's a bit more sort of your quick feet, technical. But the problem is, if you don't have Palmer, it all begins to look a bit samey and a bit predictable. Bayern. It was a weird game in that sense, in that Bayern looked vulnerable throughout, and yet Chelsea never looked like they were really going to take advantage of that.
You know what we've done here? Chelsea were our second game. We've already spoke about them, so we may as well weave that now into Manchester United against Chelsea and just carry on.
This is hosting. Thinking on your feet.
I'm 40 now. Maybe it's going to come with a little bit of experience, like a bit more nous about me, but it felt the right thing to say, and that feels the right thing to do now. So let's continue with Chelsea. It's a decent start in the Premier League, but probably a couple of draws that they'll be disappointed with. Palace at home, Brentford away last week, obviously pretty late. Why are those draws happening?
I think different reasons, actually. I think the Palace game, that lack of guile. I mean, it's Chelsea. There's two things that make no sense with Chelsea. The first is how much money they sell players for.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Like it just seems you turn up at Stamford Bridge and 20 million's added to your price, which is good news because it means I'm now worth 100 million pounds. So I did 5 games there last season.
Oh, what a signing that would be for someone.
Oh, wouldn't it? As long as I get a proper cut of that. And the other is you can watch them and you can think they're never going to score at all. They're never going to score today. And then you look at the XG, and so XG 2.8 or something. They're very good at racking up XG numbers without ever looking like scoring. And I don't fully understand that. So I think last season, part of the issue, and I was sort of sympathetic to this, was they did create enough chances to win games, but Nicholas Jackson is not a great finisher. His confidence dropped. Fans got on his back. I feel a bit sorry for Nicholas Jackson, or did. I don't think he acted particularly well in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But he was brought from Villarreal, having played 16 games in La Liga, and suddenly it's you're the first choice number 9 for Chelsea, which is a huge pressure to put on a player who's still learning the game. And then things didn't work out particularly well, and fans get frustrated with him, and you just get this sort of doom spiral. And I sort of, I understand all the positions. I understand why fans are frustrated, but I also think it's not entirely fair on Jackson. The club's put him in an unfair position. And then, they bring in Delap and they bring in João Pedro, and maybe he could have been the third choice, or competing with Delap to be second choice. Maybe he could have filled on the left a bit. I think he himself didn't particularly want that left-sided cutting and field role. I think actually that might suit him given his skill set. But anyway, he decides he wants to leave. So, but last season, his inability to finish chances, I think, there were games with a better finisher, Chelsea would have scored in the first sort of 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. They'd be 1-0 up. They'd be controlling possession. They'd be creating a handful of chances, but not a lot. And fans, rather than being really frustrated, would be, oh, it's fine. We're 1-0 up and controlling the game. Whereas fans were, it's 0-0. We're not scoring. We're not creating. So that lack of a finisher, I think, did cause some problems last season. And I think the performances were probably better than they appeared. But then this season, the same phenomenon seems to be happening. And I know Delap's injured, and that puts pressure on João Pedro. But that Palace game, particularly, they were really flat. The second half of Brentford, I thought it played really well.
Yeah, made the changes.
Until that last 10 minutes. And then suddenly, and what happened with that equaliser? You had already seen they were vulnerable from a long throw. There'd been that one long throw that Sanchez sort of battered away. I don't know if anybody got a touch on that, whether he could have let it go straight in. But then the one that the equaliser comes from, Garnacho obviously doesn't pick up at the back post. But I think Garnacho is starting to think, I can break away here. And I think there's sort of a bit of confusion of communication there, maybe, that maybe I'm making excuses for somebody who's just switched off. But I could understand if he were thinking, oh, if we clear this, I've got the pace, they can get that to me, and I can drive forward. And maybe he's even been told that. And I thought it was really, I don't know if you noticed at the end, but the set-piece coach, Quaver, he was really angry at the end with something, and he storms off down the tunnel waving his arms in the air, apparently sort of unhappy with something Maresca had done. So there's some sort of tension there that I don't, maybe he's just frustrated because he conceded a soft goal, but I wonder if there had been some confusion of communication with Garnacho there.
Yeah, but I looked at it a little bit different. I think what you've said is probably valid. I just looked at Garnacho as like a player that doesn't want to be back there doing that kind of thing and switched off. But your kind of reason makes sense as well.
I mean, you may be right. He may just
know.
be dozy. I was sort of, it just was such an inexplicable thing for him to do, given that he'd only been on the pitch 10 minutes and they're 2-1 up with a couple of minutes to go. But yeah, maybe he had just switched off. I mean, he is a winger. He's not a defensive player.
Yeah, and your pronunciation of Quaver was very crisp, Jonathan.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks.
Did you just ignore the joke, or did you?
Oh, I didn't notice it. I didn't think it was a joke. Now you've explained it.
But it wasn't really.
I can see there's a sort of joke there, but yeah. I mean, it's not one I'd have made. Let's put it that way.
No, not my finest hour probably, but I'm about to be a dad. Just turned 40. Dad jokes. This is what we do now. You talk about Chelsea and centre forwards, and it was the most obvious transfer that was going to happen in the world was announced after the transfer window finished that Emmanuel Amiga was going to join from Strasbourg next season. I don't know how much of him you've seen, but I think he is the real deal. I think he's going to be a proper striker. But then it kind of lends you to thinking, well, if he's coming in 12 months' time, João Pedro can play multiple positions. So I think it still works him being there. But then Delap's going to be like, well, I'm third choice. He already knows now. I know he's injured. He knows now that he's going to be third choice striker next season already, which feels weird.
Well, plus there's the odd situation with Mark Guiu. Yeah, Guiu went on loan to Sunderland, was recalled after the Delap hamstring problem, which fair enough. I mean that makes sense. But then he wasn't even in the matchday squad against Brentford, and he's a proper box forward. How good he is, we haven't really seen enough to judge, but he's definitely got promise. Scored on his only Sunderland start this season, admittedly in the League Cup in a defeat to Huddersfield, but took the goal really nicely, got across the near post, nice header. I was quite looking forward to seeing him as an option for Sunderland up front.
Yeah.
That I'm not convinced that. Well, no, it's not. I'm not convinced. I'm absolutely certain that Mayenda plus Isidore is not enough. They've got Robbie in from Ajax. But I think Robbie's really raw.
I've seen him play live, actually. Yeah, he is.
And maybe that physicality is fine. And maybe, Régis Fabrice can sort of hone that. But Guiu seemed to me, a player who's trained with very, very good players who can maybe sort of transfer some of that class to other Sunderland players. And what I'd seen of him, I quite like the look of him. And I thought that's a good option off the bench or as an alternative to Mayenda or Isidore. So I was disappointed he went back. I'm going to be even more disappointed if he doesn't even play.
No, he won't.
Yeah. But it just seems very, very weird. And it's sort of the less that he plays, the more justifies Nicholas Jackson's his determination to get out of Chelsea. I mean, yeah, apparently paid $3 million of his own money to get the move to Bayern.
Well, yeah, I mean, the money that was involved in that loan deal was absolutely mind blowing, wasn't it? And we're talking about the strikers and Chelsea making money on players. Delap will probably just go for 20 million profit
Yeah,
in
yeah,
12 months somewhere. Like that just seems to be how it works, isn't it? But have you seen much of a Miga? Do you know much about him? Do you always expect that move to happen?
I think you look at any Strasbourg player, and there's always a strong chance that if they impress, they will go to Chelsea. I mean, I think he's more of a Jackson style player, isn't he? I mean, I think he's probably a ceiling's higher than Jackson's,
He's very both footed as well.
but that sort of movement, I don't think he's much of a box player as Guiu.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know what the structure of the deal is, whether he could be brought in January. I mean, I'm guessing given Chelsea effectively own both clubs, they can probably find a workaround.
He got a bad reception for Strasbourg last weekend because obviously it was the first game since it had been announced, which I know Rossini was very, very upset about. So maybe that might be something that can happen. I mean, Chelsea will sign somebody in January, won't they? They're not going to go through the whole of January without signing anyone. That would be hugely unlikely. Let's talk about their opponents, then Manchester United. And Jonathan, what will it take for Ruben Amorim to get the sack? Like, what would he do to get the sack? The guy has tried his heart out, and it's just not happened at the moment. Just can't get the sack. But what do you think it would take for Manchester United's hierarchy to act?
Well, I mean, there's been stories this week that they're looking to replace him in the October international break. To allow that to be known ahead of time is exactly the kind of incompetence we would expect from the present Manchester United. I think it's entirely credible. I think it's almost impossible they could sack him in October without their plan to do so leaking. That's not saying that they will, but I think there is credibility to this. But the question is, who do you bring in? And who do you bring in where you're not just writing off another season, which is what they effectively did last year? Who's knocking around there who would say, yeah, I'll abandon whatever club I'm at? I mean, Iraola, Glasner, I'm sure they'd love either of them. But why, if you're Iraola or Glasner, would you abandon a club that's sort of working to your model where you've instilled your ideas, where you could have, in Bournemouth's case, they could have their best ever finish. I mean, last season was their best ever finish, 9th, but they could finish above that. They could get into Europe.
They've been brilliant so far.
They could win a cup. Or if you're Glasner, you're in Europe. They've got a not insignificant chance of winning the Conference League. Why would you? Why would you give that up to go to a basket case like United, where, I mean, think of what Amorim's reputation, what that was when he joined, and look what his reputation is now. And I don't think his dogmatic approach, I don't think I'm playing this system come what may, I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about things. I think we've seen flaws in his coaching, but equally, this isn't his fault. Everybody fails at United. So there's a real, and whatever job Amorim goes into next, if it goes badly in the first 6 months, that's him done. He's never going to get, you'd have to have extraordinary success at a mid-sized team. You'd have to win the Europa League with Sporting again or something to kind of catapult himself back into that top tier of managers. So it's any manager who goes to United now knows that there's a massive potential downside there, that you don't get reputational boost for going there, which I think one time you did. So what do? They appoint a caretaker till the end of the season. I mean, you might as well just leave it in Amorim's hands.
True.
Unless relegation actually becomes a serious issue, and he has taken, as everybody pointed out on Sunday night, 31 points in 31 games. Well, 38 from 38 would keep you up, probably.
Yeah, just about.
But you fall 2 defeats below that. 32 second you down.
You know what's funny is that I thought, well, if they get rid of him, they've so bought into his system and his 3 at the back now, they just have to go all out for Glasner, a manager that has to play that formation. But then I realised we haven't really got the players to play that formation anyway. So, like, all this being wed to a system, if you actually left, you wouldn't have to just carry on playing 3 at the back because they haven't got the players to play it anyway.
Well, and the big players they brought in the summer, Šeško, Cunha and Burmo, I think they can play that system, but they're not. But that you can play them in a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 perfectly easily. I think the only player in that squad who absolutely demands a back three is Dorgu. I sort of think Dorgu defensively is okay, but weirdly, there's a very good stat. I think it was Adam Bates' piece on Sky Sports website, looking at how often. I'm trying to think who the third player was. He's pointing out that Liverpool last season had created the way they played was clearly designed to create one-on-ones for Salah. And there was another player he pointed out. A good team who were creating one-on-ones for one of their better players. And United system creates one-on-ones for Dorgu. Now, Dorgu hasn't got a right foot, and his left foot's not that great. And it's one of those things where I noticed that at the Manchester derby on Sunday, I noticed Dorgu's getting a lot of the ball, and he's really clumsy with it. So there was a foul that who was it? Was it Bardell committed on him? And I remember sort of turning to the person next to me and saying, "Why did he do that? He was on his wrong foot. That was only going to get shanked out for a goal kick. He's given him a free kick in a completely needless position." And then, thankfully, there's the stats that Adam Bate pulled out absolutely back this up. I think he had 12 touches in the City box, which was 6 more than any other United player. And that's a system that's not working if Patrick Dorgu becomes your main attacking weapon.
Just such a, again, like mishmash of players. It doesn't work. What they're trying to do, it does not work. Will it work at the weekend, Jonathan? What's your prediction? Predictions king.
I have Chelsea to win 2-1 and Cole Palmer to score first.
Okay, I've got Manchester United 1-1. Manchester United 1-1. That doesn't work, does it? Manchester United 1, Chelsea 1. João Pedro as the first goal scorer. I don't know why I've done that, but I have. I've locked it in, so I'm not going to change it. But I have to maybe get a point in a biggish game at some point. Manchester United. Let's talk about a team that's very good at picking up points in every game. Liverpool. They can't keep getting away with it. I say keep getting away with it. They're actually quite unlucky defensively last night, I thought, with the goals they conceded. And they played really, really well. They're so fun to watch going forward. And there was some interesting stuff to come out of that game for Liverpool. They just can't keep scoring late goals, can they, Jonathan?
I mean, no, they won't. But it almost feels like they're ticking off a bingo card. They've written every number from 81 upwards on a card. I'm just going to keep crossing them off till they scored them all. So that's winners now. I know they beat Bournemouth 4-2, but the goal to put them 3-2 up. 88th minute, then 95th minute, then 82nd minute, then 94th minute, then 92nd minute. I think they only had two winners after the 80th minute last season.
Everyone kind of made out as a follow-on from last season. I didn't remember. I remembered them doing it more in Klopp's last season at the start of that season than Slot last season.
Well, that last season, what they were very good at was winning games 2-0. Going 2-0 up and then going, kill the game, we'll have a rest, thanks very much, we won't get injuries as a result. So look, to an extent, late goals come about because of accumulated pressure, that if you keep going at an opponent, you cause attrition, eventually they get tired, they make a mistake. I think the Burnley game was a great example of that. I think Burnley, the Ugachukwu foul he got the first yellow for, he could have gone for that, and then obviously it would be a different game. He does get sent off because of that accumulated attrition. And then Hannibal makes why would you stand in that? You're trying to block a cross. I understand that there probably is an optimum distance to be away from the crossing player, but I don't think stepping 18 inches further forwards, you're not in the box, makes that a much worse position, because that takes the penalty out of the equation. Whereas by standing right in that top corner of the box, it means if it hits your hand, it is going to be a penalty. And also the slightly weak turning away, the arm going out. And he knew immediately, he looked devastated. He knew that it was just his fault. There was no protest. But so on the one hand, yes, it's an individual error. Yes, they've got lucky. But equally, it's the accumulated attrition of that second half of the pressure ramping up. But, teams don't score late winners match after match after match because it is unsustainable. So I guess the question is, which way does it go? Do they just start scoring goals earlier in games, or do they stop winning games? The derby is going to be a test of them, but equally the Arsenal game was a test of them, and they came through that. Actually, probably their most impressive performance of the season in terms of being in control of a game, not really looking threatened. And I suspect, given how iffy their start had been, they'd have been quite happy with a goalless draw in that. As it is, they've picked up all these points, almost feel like free points, like points they don't fully deserve. and you sort of think they will find their rhythm. They will find the new pattern. I thought it was interesting last night that they did switch to a 4-3-3, and I think looked more comfortable once they'd done that. So when was that? Midway through the second half, and Wirtz went out to the left.
I
I
think that's
do.
an insight into where he'll end up, by the way. I've said that from the start. I think he'll end up playing as kind of a left number 10. I think he'll be able to pick up pockets of space easier in that role than he has been in the central 10 role so far. And if they've got Kirkes overlapping, I think that works.
I mean, I think there is a basic logic to that. Whether it works in practice, we'll see. But I think it's pretty obvious the 4-2-3-1 has not worked defensively yet. I mean, they kept 2 clean sheets with it, but equally, there's now been, if you include the Community Shield, there's been 4 games where they let in 2. And I don't think you can keep winning 3-2. I just don't think that happens. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, do they start the 4-2-3-1 or do they start with the 4-3-3? Or if they do start with the 4-2-3-1, how quickly do they end up switching to the 4-3-3?
Yeah, it's a fascinating game last night. And they played some lovely, intricate stuff, and the way they transition is always a joy to watch. We saw Alexander Isak for the first time. Not massively involved, but showed some nice touches. I always love it when a player makes a debut, like obviously an expensive signing, and they do the most basic things. But because it's their first game, they always get like a really big round of applause when they do something because it's their first game and the crowd gets behind. Like Isak made a 2-yard pass, and you could hear the crowd go up because he'd made a 2-yard pass. And obviously they've been watching a really good striker all the way through the season so far in Ekatike. Did you see anything in Isak starting that you enjoyed or thought was interesting?
I mean, he just didn't look fit, but I mean, that's totally understandable. I guess he's got minutes in his legs. He'll need a lot more minutes before we see the best of him. I didn't think it particularly worked, the structure, but I don't think that's necessarily Isak's fault because I don't think it's been working all season. So it was fine. It was a 6 out of 10 start. That's okay. He'll get fitter. He'll get back into the run of things, and Liverpool will work out their system. But it's not there yet. But they get a 3-2 win in a difficult game. That's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, we have touched on it, but is there these like late wins? Are they masking anything bigger for Liverpool?
I'm not sure they're masking because I think everybody can see that it's not right, that structure. I think it was a bit of a gamble, really. I mean, it surprised me he was going to change. Well, why would you change something that works? And it almost felt like they were creating the system for Wirtz, which, yeah, fine. He's a really good player. I think people have been I mean, maybe it's only just online people who aren't real people,
No.
who've been quite critical of him. But the truth is, he hasn't started well. Or hasn't, yeah, I think last night was probably his best game so far.
Yeah, he's heavily involved.
Which may be just sort of a difference in the pace, difference in how teams defend, something he's a bit more familiar with. Or maybe he's just sort of finding his feet. I mean, I was at the game when they beat Bournemouth, that opening game, and it was really obvious to me that both him and Ekatike, as they went off at half time, they were walked off together and they were having a chat, and they both looked knackered. And so in my head, the chat was, Christ, this is quick. I don't know if that's fair or not, but I think the Premier League is harder than anything else. And so it doesn't matter how good you are, how fit you are, it will take time to adjust. I've got every confidence. I mean, Ekatike has obviously been scoring goals, so it hasn't really been a problem for him. I've got every confidence that this will adjust, but you can't expect this to happen immediately. I mean, obviously, Bournemouth, it has happened immediately for everybody, which is baffling and brilliant for them. But for people who aren't Iraola, it probably does take time, and you've got to expect that.
Yeah, Andy Robertson spoke about it, but it's different coming in and playing for Liverpool, and he's got faith that those players are going to come good. Like Wirtz isn't hiding either. Like you can see, he's a very, very good player. Like at some point, he's just going to click. Everything will come together. He'll get used to the pace of the game. He'll get that first goal or kind of first assist. I don't think he's got an assist yet, and it will all just come together. He's a fabulous footballer, and he'll just get better as the season goes on. Everton, Jonathan, I obviously watched them last week because they played my team and they played very well and have started the season pretty well. But you can't get away from the fact that they bought someone who was supposed to be a goal scorer in the summer and he's currently not playing. It feels at the moment all they're missing is kind of a number 9. The rest of the structure feels there.
Yeah, I think that is true. I think they're a bit blunt. I think they're, as you expect from a Moyes side, they're pretty well organised. The games have probably balanced out in that I think they were a little bit unlucky to lose the lead. I think they're a bit fortunate to beat Fulham, or certainly beat them as comfortably as they end up doing. But they're about where they should be. They're playing better than they have done the last 2 or 3 seasons, or the start of the last 2 or 3 seasons. I don't think we're talking them as potential relegation candidates, which we have done. But Beto is not an absolutely top class centre forward, and if they're relying on him, that's going to cost them a few points.
No, he had a chance early on in the Villa game. Quite a simple ball into him where I thought, oh, they're going to score here. He just like he was trapping a balloon. He just flew off his foot. I don't even know what he did, but he could have got them off to an absolute flyer and didn't. And I feel he's the kind of striker, if he starts a game badly, the whole game just goes badly for him. If he starts the game well, he'll probably bully you and have a decent game. But I think his first actions in games are really, really important. But obviously, they've brought in a different striker in Barry that you would think is going to be the number 9 as the season goes on.
Yeah, you'd assume so. I mean, I guess whoever plays there, what's important is to link up with Grealish.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good, Grealish.
And I think the fact Grealish has started so well so quickly is massively positive for them. I know we've seen. I mean, they're not the same sort of player. I don't have the same sort of personality. We saw a little bit of that with James Rodriguez, and that's the one thing to guard against. 5 good games to start the season does not make a good season.
No.
But I just sort of think Grealish, he gets it in a way that James Rodriguez didn't. I think Grealish is. I don't know if he's said this, but I presume he's got an eye on a World Cup spot. Probably his last chance of getting in the World Cup team. And for all that England have got huge numbers of options there in those the creative roles, he is different. And if he's playing well, it's very hard to argue he's not worth a place, at least in the squad, as somebody who, if England need a goal 20 minutes ago, chuck him on, let him dribble, see what happens, maybe get a penalty, maybe create something. So, yeah, I think it's about that combination of Grealish and a centre forward.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And he was good again last week against Villa. What's your prediction for this one, Jonathan?
Yeah, have I written this down?
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, sorry, it's at the top. Yeah, because it's the early game, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we changed. Yeah, we adapted.
Liverpool to win 2-0. Ekitike to score first.
Okay, I've gone Liverpool to win 2-1, and of course, have to stick to my Cody Gakpo first goal prediction that surely is going to come in at some point. Let's do our predictions for the other games then before we get into Arsenal against City. Jonathan, Brighton v Spurs.
I've gone 2-1 to Brighton, but Richarlison to score first, partly because I can't work out who's going to play for Brighton.
Yeah, I struggled with the first goal scorer for this one, actually. Nearly went defender, but I've done that elsewhere in my predictions. I've gone Brighton 1, Spurs 1, and just gone for Bergvall because it feels like he's been in there.
He has been playing well recently. I mean, Brighton, they were really good that last half hour against City, but other results haven't really gone for them this season. So I think they're a bit up and down. Spurs have been really good, apart from against Bournemouth. But I just wonder if Champions League exertions might just sap them a bit.
Yeah.
So I think Brighton probably. I mean, I think Brighton were unlucky at Everton. So yeah, if I get a bit of that luck back, that's why I've gone for them.
Okay. But I've Burnley Forest. I've gone for 1-1. Morgan Gibbs White to score the first goal. What have you gone for?
1-1 Foster.
Okay. What happened to Forest last night? Jeez, what's going on? Big Ange. You can't go. Oh, you'll see it on Wednesday, mate. Oh dear.
You really did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That was an absolute catastrophe from Forest, losing 3-2 to Swansea with a few late goals, 2 stoppage time goals in there for Swansea. West Ham against Palace, Jonathan.
Also 1-1 Mateta.
I've gone for Mateta to score first, but I have gone for Crystal Palace to win 2-1. West Ham are hopeless, especially hopeless at home. Wolves v Leeds, big game this one actually. I nearly put this in the as one of our feature games, but didn't. I've gone for Wolves 2, Leeds 1, and for some reason I've put Agbadou to score the first goal.
This was a FA Cup semi-final in 1973. It was the other semi when Sunderland beat Arsenal. I've gone 1-0 Wolves and Jurgen Strand Larsen to get the goal.
Yeah, I have to say, I was scratching around for someone from Wolves to score the first goal. So that's why I ended up going for a centre back in the end.
Well, I'm assuming Larsen's going to be fit. I mean,
he needs to be. Yeah, he needs to be. Then they could do with a focal point at the moment. The only thing keeping my team off the bottom of the table right now. Fulham, Brentford, Jonathan.
I've also gone 1-0 to Fulham, Raul Jimenez.
Okay, I've gone for Fulham 2, Brentford 1, and Kevin to score the first goal. I don't know if you saw his little cameo at the weekend, but he looked tasty.
He looked good, didn't he? Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, I mean, I know Willian was very popular there, but yeah, he might be an upgrade on the left for them.
He looked like a young Willian, in fairness, down that wing. He was so tricky. Delivery was good. He was only on for 15 minutes. He's probably up there as one of the contenders for man of the match. He was absolutely fantastic from what I saw. Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 1. I've gone for Semenyo, my favourite player in the Prem at the moment, to score the goal.
I've gone for Bournemouth to get their 4th single goal victory, or goal by a single goal margin in a row. 1-0, Evan Nielsen.
Evan Nielsen. Okay. And then the big one, Wilson v Bardell, Sunderland against Villa. Hopeless Villa. What have you predicted?
I've gone for Villa to win it 1-0 with their
Why?
first goal of the season from Ollie Watkins.
What on earth? What has made you do that? I've gone for Sunderland to win 2-1. A dinger to score. I mean, it'd be shocked to me if we actually scored a goal in the Premier League.
You're not going to go through an entire season without scoring.
And we might.
The first Sunderland game I'm seeing live this season, I think, is quite likely to be the one where they really mess up and play badly and start their collapse towards relegation.
Well, that would be great. I'd love for that to happen, but we are hopeless, Jonathan, and I'm dreading it. I think it's the kind of players Villa just turn up and drop an absolute stinker like they have done away from home in other games this season. Look at the 2 Brentford games. I've got no faith that we'll get. I think maybe we can get a point. Don't think we'll go to your place and win. But we'll see who comes out on top of that one. Hopefully Jonathan's theory of him going and making Sunderland rubbish is true. Let's do our last game then. Big one this. Arsenal v City. Arsenal, I watched them on Saturday against Forest. I know Forest, new manager adapting them and whatnot, but Arsenal were brilliant with just players who probably aren't going to be in their best 11, just absolutely shining in Madueke covering Saka, and I thought Mascara at the back was brilliant as well.
Yeah, I thought Mascara particularly was impressed. I mean, Madueke clearly was, but he was playing against a centre-back. And Madueke, I think the conversation around Madueke this season has been quite odd. So when they signed him for 45 million, there was why did they sign this joker?
That's online people again. Just idiots.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think you can make a case that 45 million is overpriced, low in this market. God knows what anybody's worth. But Madueke's not a terrible player. I'm not convinced he's absolutely top class, but he's not terrible. So as a backup to Saka, yeah. If it had been 30 million, you'd go, no, that's fine. 45 sounds quite a lot, but loads of players have gone for quite a lot. So I thought the early criticism was overdone. I think the massive praise he's got has been overdone. That he basically played well against Kerkez, but he did that last season. Kerkez is a fullback who's really struggled to settle at Liverpool, and then he played well against a centre back playing at fullback. Well, somebody who can run with the ball against a slightly lumbering, big, slow on his feet defender, well, they often do quite well. So, yeah, he's played well in 2 games, but I don't think the 2 games where you wouldn't really expect him to play well. So it feels like the reaction has been overly negative, now overly positive. This obviously against a proper side in City will be a bigger test for him. But Mosquera looked very, very comfortable at centre back. Chris Wood, I think, does cause defensive problems. Forest, was by no means sort of consistent pressure that Forest were applying, but I think, he looked very, very comfortable, and that's something Forest need. That's something Arsenal need, because previously when they haven't had Gabriel and Saliba together, they have looked a bit shaky.
Yeah, I did a lot of research into Mascara in the summer because at one point I thought Villa were gonna sign him, so I looked at him quite heavily, watched a lot of clips about him, and I've obviously watched him in the game the other day. He's so aggressive. Like for a centre back, he kind of combines Gabriel and Saliba a little bit. I think kind of complements the best of both, but in his own way. And I actually think as the season goes on, I think there might be games where all 3 of them play and he plays from right back and they kind of tuck in and make a back 3. He'd probably need a more overlapping left back for that to happen, although Calafiore started the season really well, kind of actually doing that. I think there's a world where this guy's that good that they find a way to get all 3 of them into the team.
Possibly, yeah, which I guess that means Ben White is dropping down the pecking order.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really been first choice for a while. But I think Timber is such a good player.
Yeah, he is really good.
And I think Timber is he's a very Arteta player. I think tactically he's very, very intelligent. I think a lot of what's good structurally about Arsenal from a defensive point of view comes from Timber. So, I mean, look, obviously it's good to have cover, good to have options there. But yeah, I think, I just think Mascara is just a really good signing who makes them better. Might not make the first 11 better, but it means that they can maintain that level if they do get an injury or 2.
And all round now, their squad just looks so strong in all departments. They've got a fantastic mix, a fantastic balance, and bring different players in for different games. And other than losing to Liverpool, where they're a little bit unfortunate because it was a worldy free kick, and that's the only goal that they've conceded this season. Just clean sheets galore for Arsenal at the start of this season. Is David Raya the best goalkeeper in the world, Jonathan?
I mean, he's very, very good. I think it's a position where there's not an obvious best. I think for a while, Thibaut Courtois was obviously the best keeper in the world. Not brilliant with his feet, I guess, is the one thing you'd say, that he was right for that Real Madrid team. He didn't press that high. Would he be able to do that at, say, City? Well, probably not. So so maybe Raya in terms of, I mean, shot stopping, we've seen him make some stunning reflex saves over the last, well, this season and last. I mean, that double save at Villa early on last season was an incredible save. And he's good with the ball at his feet. So maybe if you're looking at across all the characteristics, he's definitely in the conversation. I mean, he's not even the Spain first choice, though, is he?
No, who knows him on? He's the number one, which is weird.
So I mean, can you be the world's best keeper without being your country's best keeper? I don't know. Maybe you can.
Dismantled my question there.
Well, maybe Spain are just getting it wrong. I mean, what if Spain ever won?
Yeah, they're rubbish. Hopeless, Spain, aren't they? They'll never win anything ever again. I mentioned Arsenal's squad there and just the fantastic options they've got. Spoke before, Saka and Ødegaard are out, and Ødegaard's struggling with injury at the moment, keeps getting injured during games. That's not good for them. Then that's their excuse for not doing well. It's almost like you didn't even notice last week against Forest.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's something where Arsenal last season really let themselves or talk themselves into being in a funk. Marino's a good player. He's a regular Spain player. Spain are the best team in the world, best national team in the world. Let Marino play. You don't need to worry about him. His skill set is different to Odegaard's. He's probably more all round, more complete. Maybe not quite so creative. Maybe he doesn't quite have the link up with Saka that Odegaard clearly has had. But I thought Marino was excellent against Forest. I don't see why you'd have any qualms with him playing in that midfield three.
Yeah, quite a big thing as well. So you've already got Saka missing, Ødegaard's gone off the pitch, and Rice just rested for a Premier League game, which I don't remember happening too many times last season, if at all.
I know Havertz either. So that speaks to how good their squad is. And that's why I was so disappointed with how they approached the game against Liverpool. That if it had been last season with those 4 absentees, or 3 absentees and Saliba going off early, then you sort of think, okay, fair enough, try and shut the game down, try and get the 0-0. But actually, you spent a load of money in the summer, and it might be nice if you had a bit more faith in your signings, because that first 11 still looked really strong. And I sort of, it almost like Arteta had forgotten how good his squad was, or didn't quite trust how good his squad was. But I think that squad is really strong. And I think they go into this game, as favourites. I know they obviously won the equivalent fixture very comfortably last season, so maybe that's to be expected. But to be as strong favourites as I think they are, despite the injuries, I think tells you how good their squad is at the moment.
Yeah, and how good's Man City's squad? Obviously, they beat Manchester United last week. Was that Manchester City being back, or was it just that they're playing Manchester United? Manchester United are useless.
I mean, you fear the latter from their point of view. But look, you can't deny that Doku played really well, Haaland played really well, Foden played really well.
Yeah.
I think even the positions Foden was taking up were really encouraging from a City point of view. That was his first league goal since January.
That's mad, isn't it?
And the sort of grin of relief when he scored it, I think you could see he'd been really feeling that pressure. And yeah, it worked really nicely, the combination of him drifting in off that flank, almost playing as a number 10 at times, Doku staying wide, beating his man. That seemed a nice balance. And it might be one of those weird things where, despite Omar Mamouche being really good, maybe he has slightly unbalanced the forward line. Because definitely Haaland looked happier as the only focal point, without Mamouche sort of buzzing around him. So it may be, I don't want to say that injury's done them some good, but it might be that front three gives them greater balance than they have had when Mamouche has been in there.
Yeah, and it kind of feels like scratching around for the right defence as well. Kusanov was in there at the weekend. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder whether that was a specific plan to tackle Dorgu. I'm not entirely certain you need specific plans to tackle Dorgu, but
Just let him have the ball. A good plan.
Kusanov is big and quick, and so playing him at right back against a notably physically strong left wing back does make some kind of sense. I mean, I can't believe Dorgu would have bullied Matheus Nunes, but equally, Kusanov did really well. I think his pace is important. I think they have lacked a bit of pace at the back
Aggressive as well.
after Kyle Walker went, and Guardiola spoke about that after the Brighton game. Said that the Brighton winner came about because Kusanov had gone off 84, 85 minutes, something like that. So he didn't have the pace at the back. That seems slightly sort of generous for how cheaply they're giving the ball away in the build-up to that goal. But equally, the pace. If you've got a really quick defender, that can get you out of jail sometimes, and they haven't had that. So it may be that Kusanov does end up playing it right back a bit more. I mean, it's not like he's replacing Kyle Walker at his peak. He's replacing Matheus Nunes, who has done okay, but he's not. He's not one of the world's great right backs.
Yeah, and we speak so much about how it's early in the season, it's hard to judge. Is this game kind of actually a really good barometer of where Arsenal are at and where City are at?
Yes, yeah, I think it is. I mean, I don't know to what extent these things are guided. I know that the Premier League doesn't like having big teams meeting in the last week or two of the season. That they like to have the games a bit earlier. But it does feel like a lot of the big games are being front-loaded this season.
This weekend, there's a few big games.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think the three, I mean, yeah, I know I've said Chelsea my title favourites, but the three other favourites for the title, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, you're gonna have had Arsenal playing their two main rivals for the title within the first 5 games of the season, which seems a little bit strange. So Arsenal could play well and lose this game, and then suddenly they've got 9 points in 5 games, having not done that much wrong. And if Liverpool beat Everton, they're suddenly 6 points behind, and there's a weird bit. I mean, look, it's very early, but there would be a slight bit of pressure that the next failure, if they drop cheap points somewhere, suddenly it's, oh god, the gap's 8 points, and they're very much playing catch up. So it feels slightly odd that they had 2 such big fixtures in the first 5 games.
Yeah. Okay. What's your prediction, Jonathan, for this one?
1-0 Arsenal, Jokeris.
I've done the same. 1-0 to Arsenal. But I've gone for Gabriel. I don't think he's scored yet this season. And I don't know. I went for a defender. I've gone back to doing that thing that didn't work in the first week of choosing centre-backs to score goals. I don't know why I've done that. Right, Jonathan, that does us, unless you've got anything else. I think we've previewed everything that we need to.
No, that's... I'm very happy with that. I feel we've done a comprehensive job. And next week, I'll be coming to you from Copenhagen, I think, on Thursday morning.
Yeah, multinational show. 1992, isn't it?
Yes, I'm going to Malmö versus Ludogorets in the Europa League next Wednesday night.
It'd probably be a better trip than me going to Villa Park on Thursday to watch Villa play Bologna the night after.
Well, I'm doing that as well. I'll be...
Oh, yes, both.
I'm flying back and racing up from Gatwick to what's it called? Witten, isn't it? Was it Witten?
Witten's, oh, God, good luck getting through that station, jeez. Hope you're not going back via Witten station. Hope you're staying over. Oh, you are staying over.
I'm staying over,
yeah. Good job for you. You don't want to be getting on the Witten or the Aston train after a Villa game. Absolutely impossible.
I realise it's going to be quite boring for listeners, but how bad's the traffic? Am I better getting a train from New Street or getting a cab?
Probably train, I would say, but I don't want to stitch you up here. It depends on timings, I guess. If you're cutting it fine,
it could be fine, yeah, because it's... I don't think I'll land till like 2:30 at Gatwick. I've got to race up. So
yeah, could be much of a muchness, but just about the train time suit, I'd go train because obviously you're right by the ground.
Yeah,
if you get the train, and it's hard to get near Villa Park after it being after 90 minutes, I think, before kick-off because they close a load of roads and it causes carnage. I'm not sure this will make the edit, this chat, but it's been a lovely chat about logistics for you next week, Jonathan. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. And as you mentioned, we'll be back next week. If you could subscribe to the channel, please, viewer, with your post notifications on, that would be absolutely great. An audio version of the show is coming very soon, so watch out for that, or listen out for that if that's your preferred method of digesting podcasts. Yeah, obviously we've got the Sunderland Villa game at the weekend, Jonathan, so we might be in touch with each other. I'm not going to wish you luck for it, but I expect you to get 3 points. So have a nice time at the Stadium of Light. I'm sure you will.
Well, I've got a nice dinner first. So yes, I'm sure I'll have a lovely time, whatever the score.
Okay, then brilliant. So this has been 1992. It's a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Jonathan Wilson too.